Today, I'd like to adjourn in memory of Joan Frederick Cunneen. She passed away on March 22nd of this year. And I knew her primarily through her son, former State Assemblyman Jim Cunneen, who also led our Chamber of Commerce in San Jose for a number of years and has generally continued to be a very active and civically engaged person in our community, both in San Jose and in Sacramento, and perhaps other parts of California. Well, why is that important? Permission to read a quote.
Without objection.
Saint Teresa Benedicta, also known as Edith Stein, said to be a mother is to nourish and protect true humanity and bring it to development. And each time I have to rise here or otherwise give a tribute to a mother, I look at what has happened with her entire family. And that's why I mentioned Jim, not just because he's a former state assemblyman, a former colleague to many like us, but he's also the fruit of the tree of his own parents. And Joan grew up in an active service Navy family, spending her childhood in Virginia and across the state of California. She earned her undergraduate degree and Master of Education degree from Stanford University. Joan and her husband Wallace, who had nicknames for each other that have been publicized as Pookie and Pooh, were happily married for 51 years until Wallace passed away in 2006. Her care for him in his final years demonstrated her deep love, compassion, and selflessness. Joan spent the next 50 years dedicating her life to teaching students in elementary school. She was a founding faculty member of Palo Alto's Ohlone Elementary School, which is known for its open education style of educating. Joan had the teaching philosophy that every child was unique and deserved the opportunity to learn and excel within their unique strengths and needs. She was also an avid tennis player, was the #1 race walker in her race walking club age group, and had an immense joy for reading that she passed on to her students and her family. Joan's kindness and compassion had no bounds. Her family and everyone who had the pleasure of knowing her saw all of this. Her commitments to those she loved and to her community will not be forgotten. I mentioned twice already her son, former Assemblyman Jim Cunneen, and I want to give one example of real life impact of a mother on the state of California and on the kind of work we do. When I was a school board member back in the day, a very large school district in San Jose with 25,000 students, we were a school district that was not receiving ongoing state funding for any kind of diversity work. Pete Wilson was the governor of California. There was a request by a well-known assembly member at the time who'd been here for years, John Vasconcellos, for a $10 million ongoing diversity and inclusion funding grant for the Eastside Union High School District at the time. Jim, a member of the Republican caucus here in the State Assembly, was someone we reached out to try to approach the governor and get that budget request honored. Jim began to tell me about the influence of his mother, an educator, as I just said, and how he had made it clear to all of his colleagues in both caucuses here in Sacramento that when it comes to public education, supporting public education, he was going to be an advocate every day that he was here. Jim succeeded in convincing Governor Pete Wilson to make that budget appropriation ongoing and permanently to the Eastside Union High School District so they can do diversity and inclusion work in their community. When I asked Jim why he was he found that so compelling, without hesitation, he said, because of his mother's influence. So sometimes when we look at these relationships, I think it's important for us to realize the impact of somebody 1 degree away from the Assembly floor, the Senate floor, having such a huge impact on the public policy and on lives in the state of California. She is survived by her children, Jim, who I've mentioned several times, Wallace V. Cunneen III, and Mary Cunneen Lyon, her 7 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson. Thank you, Mr. President, and I respectfully ask that we adjourn in Joan Frederick Cunneen's memory today.